and today we're going to talk about yoga anatomy for hip health. I hope you like this. I hope you'll subscribe, and I also hope that you will comment with all your questions. So just to give you a little overview, today we're going to talk about the importance of hip health, the benefits of incorporating yoga, anatomy overview of the hips, the effect of aging on our hips, the effects of our environment on our hips, and some yoga poses that are going to help us with hip strength, flexibility, and mobility. So the importance of hip health and the importance of having happy hips. Well, one important thing is that we can dance. Maybe not all of us can dance like this guy, but it is part of our pelvis, and hips allow us to walk, to move, to have motion. Our pelvic region and hips are connected. Our upper and lower body, they connect our upper and lower bodies to our body. The hip joint is one of the most important joints in our body. Regular benefits benefits to our hips when we incorporate regular yoga practice. So these can be some pretty intimidating poses, but they are some of the more advanced poses that can help us with our hip health. I'll show you some poses at the end. I won't show you these ones, but maybe when you get a little more advanced, you can do these ones if you'd like, or maybe you're there already. So one of the benefits is additional hip strength, additional mobility. It's much easier to walk, maybe to run, to walk fast, to dance. Increased flexibility. A comfortable gait, which is a comfortable walk, so it doesn't hurt to walk. It doesn't hurt to get up either. An overall better quality of life. So some basic hip anatomy, going over movement. In the first slide on your left there shows hip extension. So hip extension, if we balance on one foot and take the other foot back, our hips are actually extending. Same thing if we balance on one foot and lift that knee and bring our thigh upwards, that's hip flexion. So in extension, we're stretching the front of our hip, and in flexion, we are not flexing the front of our hip. So we're actually flexing our glutes there. There's also abduction or an abduction. You can see on the right there an example of adduction and abduction. So abduction is when we take away from the midline of our body. So we're moving our hip outwards. So think of your femur or your hip or your leg getting abducted by aliens. It's moving out and away from your body. It's being abducted. So adduction is when we bring it in towards our body. So this is one of our hip flexor muscles. This is the psoas that it's showing here. There's also the quadricep, but most of us know what quads are. The psoas is a very cool muscle. It connects the top and the bottom portion of our bodies. and that's amazing. The top and the bottom are divided up between our pelvic bone and our hips. It connects front to back, so this muscle actually starts at our lower lumbar and curls around down under our hip bones. So it connects from back to front, back for our lumbar, and up over, almost over our hip joints, and then it ends in the back again. So it's a super cool muscle, the psoas muscle. So when we are lifting our knee up, we're actually stretching our glutes, and when we take our knee behind us, we're stretching our psoas muscles. So hip extensors, these are hamstrings, hamstring muscles in the back of our body, back of our hips. Hamstrings and our glute muscles are primarily our hip extensor muscles. And our hamstrings get super tight because usually we're operating or we're moving through life in a forward motion. We don't often think about our hamstrings in the back until they're super tight or injured. Adductors and abductors, these are stabilizing muscles. Again, adductors are adding to the midline of our body. These are little muscles or inner thigh muscles. Abductors are the ones muscles are the ones on the side of our hips. Our gluteus medius and minimus are there, and they're also stabilizing muscles. So these muscles, abductors, get super tight on people who run or who walk a lot. And if you are walking a lot, you might get super tight abductors. People who have very flexible hips usually have quite loose abductors. And sometimes they actually have wider hips. So it's important to note that skeletal differences too can make our hips narrower or make our hips wider. So our hip is one of the most, if not the most important joint. It is a ball and a socket between the pelvis and femur. It helps us move and transfers energy from the top and the bottom of our bodies. So super important. You can see where a hip joint is located there. This is an x-ray, but you can also see that there's some damage to the hip joint, so in that x-ray. Our job is one thing that can contribute to poor hip health. If we're sitting in a desk all day, we can get super tight quads, not much opportunity there to stretch them out. So anytime we're crouching or kneeling or having to hunch forward, that definitely affects our hip health. So super important to remember to do some counter poses to help counteract the effects of poor hip health because of our jobs. Without regular care for our hips, as we age, could lead to or probably will lead to stiffness and discomfort, limited range of motion, muscle imbalances, decreased blood flow to our bones. Our blood flow is very important to our bones, to our tendons, to our fascia. Osteoporosis and bone fractures. Osteoporosis makes our bones weak and fragile, and then if we have a fall because we have muscle imbalances and we can't walk very well, this could cause a bone fracture. Basically, we have decreased quality of life. There are some things that we can't control as we age. However, there are some things that we can. So if we don't do anything, we're definitely going to have some ill effects on our hips as we age. So just like a tree, we have to apply some healthy stresses in order for a tree to get strong, to grow, to get better roots, to get stronger bark. That tree is exposed to wind. That tree is exposed to rain, that tree is exposed to animals, and our skeletal system, our bones, actually need to get exposed to some stresses as well, some healthy stresses, in order for them to continue to be healthy. So I'm going to give you some yoga poses, some asanas that you could do to increase your hip health. Remember that these yoga poses and asanas should be done with your doctor's approval, and they should be done on a regular basis. They should be done slowly, they should be done mindfully, and you should definitely contact your doctor first. You can use props to assist you, and when you're starting out, I definitely do recommend props for you. You can use a chair. There's a lady sitting in a chair there on your far right. You can use books for blocks. You can use a belt. There's a lady with a belt there. You can use that as a yoga strap. So all these things are definitely available to help you. One of the first poses is a lunge or a crescent lunge to stretch your psoas muscle, that really cool one that comes from your lumbar spine in the back all the way around to your front. In this position, she actually has her hands up. You could put your hands down to your hips or down to your knee. Her knee is stacked over her ankle, so long as her long leg is touching the mat, you can actually push your knee a little bit forward of your ankle. Stack your shoulders over top of your hips. When you start out in this position, the tendency might be to lean forward, but try as you might, definitely try to push yourself up so that your shoulders are eventually over your hips and your belly is off of your midline. Off of your thigh. When you start this position, you will notice, you'll have to do both sides, and you will notice that there's probably one side in which the hips are a little bit tighter than the other side. That's normal, just stick with it. Butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. This pose is with your the bottom of your feet together, sitting up tall, and then your knees fall over to the side. You can have your heels close to your bottom, or you could have them further away from your body. It doesn't matter, whatever's comfortable for you. Try and grasp your toes. You could place pillows underneath your knees for support. You might want to start this pose with your hands back behind your body and work up to having them in front. Figure 4 pose on your back or pigeon pose on your front. Pigeon pose is when you bring one knee forward, kind of on an angle towards the front of your mat, and the other foot is long. You line up your hips and your shoulders over top, and you might want to hold it there so they're stacked on top of one another. You can also lean forward as it gets more comfortable to do so. You should hold these poses for around 2 minutes each side. Every single pose, 2 minutes each side. In the figure 4 pose, she's got her right ankle crossed over her knee and her left foot is raised. You don't have to raise that foot, so you can leave that foot on the mat in this figure 4 position, or you can put it up on blocks, or you could actually put it up on the seat of a chair as well. This pose can also be done sitting in a chair to open up your glutes and abductors. Forward fold Uttanasana. So I do recommend starting this out on a chair, just leaning forward onto a chair or onto a sofa, the back of a couch, onto a counter, and stretching out your hamstrings and your glutes. It's super important in these poses, as I said, to hold them, but to breathe normally. If you don't normally do these poses, your body will want to put you into a sympathetic state, and we want to get you into a parasympathetic nervous state. And you can get into that state by slowly breathing. You may be counting to a count of 4 as you breathe in and counting to a count of 4 as you slowly breathe out. Parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems. Sympathetic is our fight or flight, and parasympathetic is our rest and digest nervous system. That's all I've got for you. I welcome your questions and comments below. Please be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.